Hi everyone, welcome back to If My Heart Had Wings, Ageha's Route, episode 10. So, things are starting to piece together. So number one, there's progress on the glider, being modified to the blueprint drawings that Amane has made before she graduated. And the cockpit is being modified to allow Kotori to fly in it, despite having a disability in the legs. But then comes the romance issue. So, still we see Hotaru lurking around, and there's one big question that Tatsuya brought up, and it's like, well, I don't really see that you and Ageha are close. And then Masatsugu mentioned that I see Ageha in school a lot. So even though I would confess to Ageha, there's still the question about, are they really close together, or there's still some uncertainty. So hopefully we get an answer in this episode, and we see how Aoi is going to solve the issue. So I keep mentioning about how Ageha has been kind of random, doing all these crazy things, having other girls mess with Aoi, including Kanako and the other boarders at the Flying Fish Manor. So, let's see. So, back then...
なんでもない。
I remain calm at first, but then a monstrous force roared at me from the depths of my heart and started to seethe and boil over. Hey. I pressed towards Masatsugu without a moment of hesitation.
いや、待て、葵。
やめろ、葵。
Zanchan's words stopped me in my tracks. And though I couldn't help but continue to glare at Masatsugu. So Masatsugu hung his head in shame.
お前、まだ聞いてなかったのか?
Well, I heard that something had happened, but Ageha would say no more than that. Okay, so if you remember, Ageha didn't really want to talk much about it. And I forgot when that happened. So, like Masatsugu, Hotaru held her head in shame like a scolded puppy.
そうか。知らないのか。
So what in the world happened?
俺の口からは言えないよ。ホタルだってそうだろ。
So why the heck not? So Anchan suddenly surveyed the secret base for some reason.
お前ら、ここのことを秘密基地って呼んでるんだってな。
Yeah, it is, but...
なるほど。だからか。下手するとあいつ、もう二度とここに来ないぞ。
So why?
せっかく機体が完成したのに水を差して悪いけどな。
Hey, so wait a sec. So why do you say that?
完成したからだ。
Well, once the glider is done, there's not really a reason for Ageha to continue visiting here. Wait, that does not make any sense.
そう思うなら、行ってこい。呼びにだよ。
So why don't you go try and call Ageha then?
俺たちはこいつを滑走路まで運んでるから、その間に連れてこい。
Okay. So I left as if I had been driven away. I guess I'll try to mail her first. So let's see what Ageha says. I just said that the glider is finished and asked her where she was. And there was no response. Well, I guess I could have predicted that. I call it a different location. Of course. So he goes to the Flying Fish Manor and changes his clothes. So, the school. I called the Himegi household. And according to her mother, Ageha left soon after Hotaru left, but it seems that she was still wearing her school uniform at the time. In other words, she must be at school. So Ageha, well, don't think you can escape from me. So she is at school. There you are.
葵、なんで
Well, don't worry about that. Well, just come with me. There's an important day for us. So what could you be doing here that's so important? So the day when the glider's finished?
あ、待って、でも用事が、打ち合わせが。
Well, I think that's a lie. Well, I suppose you'll say you're doing this all for a soaring club. Well, if so, I don't think you'll find anything more important than the glider's completion. Okay. No, we can't say anything about the soaring club or the glider, remember? Tobioka-sensei? Well, if you don't come, I swear, I'll say it out loud.
脅す気
Well, sure, I'm going to threaten you. Just like a coward. I know who hides this and that and is always running around from place to place.
卑怯者って何よ
Well, I'm obviously talking about you. All that aside, I want you to tell me what exactly it is that is more important than the completion of the glider.
それは
Well, so you have nothing to say, which means you've got nothing. So I grab Ageha's wrist. So are you going to shout, resist? Are you going to make enough noise to get everyone's attention?
ずるいわよ
So which is it going to be? So it doesn't matter, so just come already.
いや
No. So aren't you a member of the soaring club? Haven't you been working hard for this? So have you not worked as hard as you possibly can? Well, if that's the case, you have no excuse for missing this maiden flight.
やだ行かない
Well, I'm not going to go then. Well, why not?
やだもんはやいや行かないったら行かない
Well, I just don't want to. This. So why is she being so stubborn? And before long, I started to think I should abduct or kidnap her. But, well, at that moment, well, that's when I realized. So the feeling inside of me. It wasn't I liked Ageha, it was something else entirely. And it moved me. I decided to take an action other than what Anchan had ordered me to do. Okay then, so if it's for something other than the flight, will you come with me then?
はい
Okay? So let's go then. So I assure you that it has nothing to do with the runway or the glider. So I will not take you to the runway and allow you to be present to witness the takeoff of the modified glider.
何言ってんの
So I ignored her for the time being and grabbed my cell. Kotori. Oh, I'm sorry, but I wasn't able to get in touch with Ageha, so, today is starting to look hopeless for me. So you and Amane instead take care of the maiden voyage. So say sorry to Anchan for me. I heard an extremely angry voice on the other end of the phone, but hung up already. So I'm sure Kotori's yelling back at I always like, well, why don't you try harder? And I wonder how the twins reacted. Well, anyways, while I was at it, I also decided to turn my cell phone off. So, okay, I'm not going to hear all those buzzes from Kotori calling back at me. Well, that should just do about it.
ちょっと本気？
Well, so let's go. I grabbed the stunned Ageha by the arm and left school. Okay, so he takes her to Windy. So let's go to Cafe Flags first.
え？
So the expensive Ageha was dumbfounded as I pulled her along and headed to Cafe Flags, which is famous for its date courses. So aren't pastries the feature menu? Well then, so how about 2? So 1,300 yen for 1.
そんなお金？
Wait, so you can spend that much? Well, I'll take it off from the next gliding practice. I'll have more than enough. So I'll just cut back on the lessons.
そんなダメよ。
But still, it's kind of awkward for you to spend that much money on me. So if you are not coming, what's the point? I'm not going to fly.
そんな。
So you're the last person who should be saying anything. So you could even come to see the completion of our glider. We've been working over for an entire year. Anyways, this is delicious, and it's expensive, an elegant flavor. So talking about the pastries. So I really had no idea what she was talking about. Well then, so moving on, I gripped Ageha's hand tightly.
もう話して。
So why? Well, I only let go if you will come with me. So if I let go of you, will you not run away?
それ意味ないじゃない。
So are you implying that you'll run off if I let go? There you go. Well, if you're going to quit the soaring club, then that's your choice to make. But if you're planning to stay on as a member, won't you at least come with me then?
意地悪。脅迫よ、それ。
Well, if my club lost even one member, it would affect everyone. Have you forgotten your own words?
それは。
Well, if that's how it is, I'm sure that Tobioka would be more than happy to put an end to our activities. I'm sure he argued that it's not a real club and that gliders are too dangerous. So if that's really how you want our year of hard work to end, Ageha?
違うわ、そんなこと。そんなのは。
Well, so we can't save the serious talk for later. Okay, so we can't save the serious talk for later. So how about some ice cream? Well, that's right. So cookies and cream is your favorite, isn't it?
なんで知ってるのよ。
Well, you probably told me at some point. I guess it was probably last year at around the time you became friends with Kotori.
あんな前のこと。
So you remember that little detail? I remember everything about you, Ageha. And I gently let go of her hand. Ageha didn't run away. Well then, so where to next? We went out with both drink and ice cream in hand. So like how I would mention said, well, you've been absent for a lot, and you should at least contribute something. So at least be there for the maiden flight. And if you are not going to show up, it kind of shows that you're not even interested or you don't even want to be in the soaring club. So there's not really a reason we need to hide this from Tobioka-sensei if this club isn't going to exist at some point. And that's why it's like, well, I'm okay yelling out loud in school about the glider if you are not going to participate. So we finished our ice cream with plastic bottles in hand to protect against the heat. We hit the road. There, so it is just about time. So this was the last place. This was the last place we were happy together. So the time when, well, then again, Hotaru kind of started it. And if you remember, Hotaru was talking to Aoi and asking about what he wants in a girl and how she looks compared to Ageha. And then Ageha just popped in at the last moment because she kind of knew that Hotaru was making a move on Aoi behind her back. But the way things are going now, it's going to be harder and harder to get along that well again. So don't you agree, Ageha? I ignored Ageha's silence and pressed on for an answer. Do you really think of me as just another classmate? Well, if you do, I'll just stop.
そんな、違うよ。
No, that's not true. I see. Well, that's good. I took a deep breath. And the worst of my fears has been avoided. So okay, she does not look at me as just another classmate. Well, so shall we sit? I climbed up to a gentle slope of grass and sat down. And from there we could look down at the lake. Ageha sat down next to me. Well, I'm sure it'll start any second now. So things like, well, we can watch the maiden flight from here. I strained my eyes to see the other side of the lake. And Ageha notices it. So Ageha and I both saw the same thing. So a faint green expanding on the opposite shore. On it was something white, no different than a calmly spinning windmill.
あれが
So it is the improved version of the Soaring Club glider. And that was our wings.
完成したんだ。
So I told you, didn't I? San-chan was complimenting your craftsmanship, said it was the work of a pro.
やったー。
So what is Ageha still worried about? So that what makes you happy, right?
そりゃ当然でしょ。
Well, of course. So why wouldn't you at least want to be there for its maiden voyage? Because... Oh, it looks like it's about to take off. So the aircraft arrived in a fixed position. The people moving around it were faint even when I strained my eyes. So they're small, it's far away. And I guess Anchan and Masatsugu are covering for me this time.
本当に飛ぶの？天音先輩と小鳥で。
If you're really worried, we could leave here and make it in time to warn about that, should we? Well, I'm not in the mood to just leave you here and go off on my own. Well, how about we go together?
そんな。
So either we go together or we don't go at all. Well, how could you justify going out on a date with me and yet you missed the maiden flight of the glider? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I just waited without urging her to answer. So, it's about to take off now. And the white aircraft moved. Oh, come on, Kotori! I instinctively wiped the sweat from my brow. And if there is even the slightest defect. So what happened now? Ageha bent toward with excitement. And as soon as the graceful white wings seemed to start moving, they were rising into the air. Oh, it's flying. And we did it.
綺麗。
So as if it were dancing in the wind, the forward swept wings of the aircraft turned over to the lake's surface. Okay. And it soon reduced its altitude and landed in a starting position. So that was a short flight, I'm guessing.
もう終わり？
So it's the first flight of the new model. You can't overwork a prototype during the experimental stages. So I think it's like, well, it's more like a test flight. They just want to make sure everything works. So there's not really a need to go long distance at this stage.
ああ、そっか。
So you're shaking. I took Ageha's hand into my own. So much like my own, Ageha's hand was drenched in sweat. It had a pleasantly cool feeling to it. It said more about Ageha's true feelings than words ever could. Well, Ageha, I guess this is the time to ask. So what's the question? So I heard from Anchan and Masatsugu that something happened. But nobody would talk to me about what it is. They said I needed to hear from you. So everyone likes you, you know. If they didn't, you would be ignored, and they cut all contact. And I'm no different. No, actually, I like you more than any of them. And that's why I'm the one who can't bear to not know what's going on. So I really want to know what's going on and why you're hiding all this from me. And if you don't hate me, tell me this at least. So tell me whether or not something happened at the old secret base. So is Ageha going to respond? So Ageha was silent for a while after that. And I kept my hand on top of hers. And while I kept watch, the glider rose into the air for another flight. Okay. And the forward swept wings turned in the opposite direction from before, left the water surface and climbed in altitude. And then it quickly landed back on the ground. And once the aircraft's movement stopped, Ageha took a deep breath.
ちょっと長い話になるよ。
So it's basically a long story.
それにみっともない話。情けなくてだらしなくて呆れるよ。
Okay? So I gently stroke Ageha's finger.
昔の私たちの秘密基地。
So we had some good times there, didn't we?
うん。でも葵が引っ越した少し後取り壊された。
I see.
それがすごく辛かった。あそこは私たちの場所。私たちみんなの場所。葵はいなくなっちゃったけど、あそこにいつか戻ってくるって、そう思ってたの。
So it was a childish presumption. It was an easy way to reason with things. But when I heard that the place that we used to always play in was gone, I felt like a hole had been poked in my heart, though I can't I can hardly admit that to her.
葵がいなくなったのすごくショックだった。葵がせっかく告白してくれたのに断っちゃって、そのままお別れしちゃって。
Right. So to be rejected, that was a shock for me.
あれはあの時は
But then again, that time was different. So you didn't like me enough?
違うよ OK するつもりだった。
So I think it's like, well, I wanted to say yes, but then you moved away and it was too late.
でも怖くなっちゃったの。
So you were afraid of saying yes. Well, that makes sense.
だって告白されたらカップルになるんだよ。特別な二人。じゃあ他の人は？あんちゃん、マーボー、ホタルは？遊ばなくなるの？
So I feel that if I do accept your confession, it might upset our little childhood friends group.
それが嫌だったの。みんなが仲間でいられなくなるのが。
So is that the reason you rejected me?
うん。だから言ったでしょ。情けない話だって。でも葵がいなくなっちゃって、私が振ったせいだって思ったの。
Well, I felt that I made a big mistake by saying no, because then you moved away and it was probably going to be no chance for me to take back my word and talk to you again. I can kind of see how she get that impression. It's like, well, maybe Aioi moved on to someone else. So when I left the town, I was rejected by Ageha and actually felt like running off with my own tail between my legs.
その後すぐ秘密基地が取り壊されることになって、壊されるからもう近づいちゃいけないって言われて、そうしたらもうみんな集まらなくなって、それ私のせいだって思ったの。
So did everyone go their own separate ways?
うん。だから私守ろうとしたの。
So our secret base?
うん。壊されなければみんな元通りになる。また集まる。葵だって戻ってくるって。それで取り壊し工事の始まる前の夜、家を抜け出して入り込んで、工事の人たちが最初は気づかなくて、橋の壁から壊し始めて、その頃うちのお母さんが気がついて探し回って、お母さんに聞いたあんちゃんが近くに来て、そこで私工事の人に見つかって、壊れた壁を伝って上に逃げたの。一番高いところで壊すのやめてって泣きわめいて。
Well, it would be too late at that point.
丸くなって、ここが壊されるなら私も一緒にって思い詰めてた。
Wow, so you did all that?
自分でもおかしいと思う。でもあの時はそうするしか考えられなかった。どんなことをしてもここを守ろうって。結局あんちゃんが登ってきてなだめられながら抱き上げられて、それでおしまい。
This story.
知ってるの近所の人だけ。あんちゃんやマーボー、ホタル、いつものみんなだけだよ。それで私秘密基地が壊されるところ最後まで見られなくって、次に見た時はもう何もなくなってた。それでもう葵は帰ってこないんだって。みんなも もうバラバラになっちゃうんだ。もう二度と一緒に遊べないんだって分かって。しかも秘密基地があった場所にウィンディなんかできて、うちの店もその中に入ってそこで商売やってるし。
Okay.
正直ウィンディすごかったし。
But then again, Windy isn't a bad replacement for that secret base, so.
だからウィンディを嫌うのもできなくて。
And they even have a shop there.
どうしていいかわからなくなって何もできなくなって。
So you stopped replying to the letters and New Year's cards?
うん。あの後1年ぐらい私ホタルとしか話さない暗い子になってたから。
You?
そうだよ。その頃の写真もエピソードも知らないでしょ。
Well, you're right. I don't.
で、まあ一応だんだん立ち直ってきて、進学したら友達もできるようにはなったけど、親友って言えるような相手は誰も作れなくて。
Yeah, so that's what you were saying. Well, I hate to say it, but I had no idea that the talk of her trying to please everyone had such a unbelievably heavy story behind it.
で、人付き合いは多いけど親友のいない私の前にいきなりトラウマの根本原因が現れたわけ。
Well, me, you mean?
どれだけ私が驚いたかわかんないでしょ。
Well, I understand. I was unable to ride my bicycle due to the injury. It could have been worse.
だね。でもそのトラウマくんは。
Well, I wish you wouldn't throw that word around so much.
いつの間にやらグライダーなんての見つけちゃって。あんないかにも秘密基地でございって感じの場所、私の前に持ってくるんだもんな。
Well, that may be true, but...
でもまあ最初のうちはそんなに気にしてなかったよ。メンバー違うし活動内容しっかりあったし。でもあの時飛んだ後壊されるの見た時。
So that flight I took with Amane, the final flight. And I too left the impact of the garage of this, or felt the impact of the garage's destruction.
バーって蘇ってきちゃったの。昔のこと。秘密基地壊される。守らなきゃ。
Oh, so because of that. And thinking back on it, Ageha's eyes were different back then.
あれでもうトラウマ完全復活よ。
Well, I've already recovered from it. So, from my past trauma. I tried to be cheerful, but my hand in hers was shaking and soaked in sweat.
それから1年。また新しい秘密基地ができた。
So now we have a third secret base.
私たちの場所。私たちみんなの秘密基地。今度こそって誓った。もう大事な場所がなくなるのは嫌。私もあの頃とはもう違う。今度こそ守るの。何があっても絶対に。そう心に決めてた。だから。
Saga fixed her grip on my hand. Her voice quivered.
だから告白なんかされて、私が特別だなんて言われて、ダメなの。ダメだったの。受け入れたらまたなくしちゃう。また秘密基地なくなって、みんなともまたバラバラになっちゃう。そう 思っちゃって。
So tears slid down Ageha's cheeks, and I continued holding her hand in silence. Well, I see. So a number of things finally made sense. So that explains your behavior. Ageha gave a deep but silent nod. So you want to protect everyone's place.
だから外でいろいろやってたのは飛岡の邪魔が入るようなら出勤できなくしてやろうとか。
So wouldn't that be breaking the law?
まだやってないよ。計画だけ。
Well, it is still no good. So you really are obsessed with protecting things. Well, it's kind of obvious at this point. So Ageha unveiled what seemed to be an extremely forced smile. Well, I'm sorry, you didn't show up at the secret base, so we thought that you were trying to put distance between us.
そう思われても仕方ないよ。話さなかった私も悪かったから。
So I kind of wonder, so what is Ageha, or what has she been doing this entire time, being at school while all the action is going on at the secret base? And why didn't you talk to us about it?
だって嫌われたくなかったから。一人で工事現場に立てこもった子だよ。普通変だと思うでしょ。今だって秘密基地守るためなら何でもしちゃうよ。悪いことだって多分やっちゃうよ。ね、引くでしょ。ドン引きするでしょ。
So now that you mention it, there were times when I wanted to knock all over my competitors while racing against them. And if we were just talking about thoughts, everyone has them, and that's just how it is. So right now, I want all the other guys who approach you to disappear, and I want to have you all to myself. And if I can't make it a reality, I can at least dream about it.
そんなことを思ってるんだ。変態。
Well, that sounds wrong. Well, you're just realizing that. And hearing that creeps you out.
うわー、最低。近寄んないで、青い金が映るわ。
Well, I guess that's the kind of reaction I've come to expect.
まあ、青いだし。
Well, if it's for IOE, so if it's for IOE, I'll make an exception. Thank you. Well, the truth is that I had been avoiding talking to you about my leg injury. So basically, IOE does have a mistake as well. And that's why I can't really blame you for keeping secrets from me. Well, it's fine. So I need to apologize for getting all worried about contacting you. Ageha grabbed my fingers and fixed her grip again. And warmth returned to the palm of my hands. Well, I understand your past and your trauma, but still, why did you try to distance yourself from the glider's completion? So it's something that everyone at the secret base made together, isn't it? So wouldn't it be something that you want to treasure?
だからよ。
So it took Ageha a few moments to open her mouth.
作るのがみんなであれ作っていくのが楽しすぎて、あれが完成しちゃったら秘密基地の楽しい時間が終わっちゃうような気がして。
Okay. So that's it. So I finally understand what Anchan had been saying. So you won't come because it's complete. And like myself, Kotori, and everyone else, she had strong feelings about the glider. However, Ageha's feelings were far, far stronger than any of us could have ever imagined. And though she had been cheerfully trying to avoid showing her face. And with such strong feelings for the secret base, the glider, and for all of us, she fell victim to overthinking. And if she were to lose any of it, she would never be able to forgive herself. And having brought her back from the old secret base, Anchan had understood this. So you are seriously
バカでしょ。
a stupid person? Yep.
認めるの。
But something's wrong with me if I say you're stupid. Well, after all, what would that make me for liking such stupidity?
ババカか。バカの2乗。オーバーラップしてるの。
Well, okay, so stupid. I wonder if we can make it echo.
採用しよっか。バカ青いにエコーかけて。
Well, you try to make it echo. So you are stupid. IOE. Current altitude is 500 meters. So it's so hard to say. Well, that's kind of interesting. So now you're smiling. And that's the first time I've seen that out of you today.
そう
Really? Well, I'm sure it's been like that, or he hasn't seen Ageha's smile in a while. So with Ageha's smile, something inside of my heart melted and flowed out and away from me. So Ageha's passed and my doubts dissolved completely. Oh, so they're rising again. And I wonder if they're trying to adjust something, having been motionless on the opposite shore for some time. The glider rose into the air for a third time. And this time, it drew 8 letters as it flew. So, does this spell anything?
操縦してるの。小鳥かな。
Maybe it could be Amane. So Amane hasn't flown in a while and probably hasn't been practicing either. So like, well, it's probably Kotori, with Amane watching Kotori from the front or the back.
大丈夫かな。
Yeah. Well, wow. So the aircraft suddenly tilted forwards. And the pilot compensated quickly, so I'm sure that was on purpose. So maybe Amane is trying to teach Kotori how to handle a bit more extreme maneuvers. Or probably shouldn't be seeing stuff like this. It can't be good for my heart. Well, it isn't.
葵が飛ぶとき、私、いつもそういう気分なんだけど。
Well, I really had no idea. Well, I'm sorry if I worry you.
やっとわかったか。
Well, you understand now.
だから、あれ作るの必死だったんだぞ。勉強して、いい資材使って腕上げて。事故が起きたら、一生立ち直れないから。
Well, I'm sorry. So my apology came straight from my heart. Well, I'm going to be flying in this after all. And that said, if I were to have an accident in something me or I myself built, I don't really think I think much of it. Well, I never considered the feelings of Ageha, who had never flown herself. Well, I'm sorry.
絶対に無事に戻ってきてよ。
Well, sure, I promise.
絶対よ。
So, I'm serious. So you will return to Earth in one piece. Oh?
信用できないな。そうだ。葵の一番恥ずかしい話、一つ教えて。
So now for you, anything embarrassing that you should tell me about?
もし無事に戻ってこなかったら、それみんなにばらまくから。
So what kind of... Let's see, here bring ideas that... You're horrible. A real human being would never do that.
さあさあ言ってごらん。保険ってやつだよ。無事に飛ぶための。
Well, don't you think it's kind of bad because I'm talking about my safety, whereas you're just making fun of me for it? Well, I've never seen her eyes shine so bright. Well, an embarrassing story from me to Ageha. So I wonder what kind of story can he tell Ageha? Well, there's one that immediately comes to mind. So what is it? So this story.
あるんだね。ほら言ってよ。それで葵のフライトの無事は保証されるんだよ。
So if you're having trouble saying it, it probably is very embarrassing. So come on. So I really had a bad feeling about this.
別に途中でうっかり口滑らせたりはしないよ。
Well, nope. I am ready and rearing to go. So even if it's not intentional, it seems like this story will hit the streets overnight if Hotaru is any indication.
姫木保険は皆様からの熱い信頼によって運営されております。丸。
I wonder if is less trustworthy sounding guarantees in the world. So basically you are Hotaru's sister, so I'm not sure if I should trust you on that.
で、どんなの？葵の最高の恥って。
And there are some things that Ageha and Hotaru share, so... Well, in terms of personality, well, I wouldn't use the word shame. Well, okay, so here I go. So, let's see, before at the school building, when I decided to take Ageha on an unconventional date after Anchan told me to get her, well, what I realized at the time, what I unfortunately realized... So what is it? Ageha waited, her eyes shining even more than before in anticipation. So you can see Aoi's face going red. And when I try to speak, my face began to warm. There you go.
赤い。
Shut up.
ほら頑張れ。
Come on, you can do it. You know nothing of people's feelings. Okay, take a deep breath. Okay, here I go. I'll tell you my most embarrassing story. I hope you're ready for it.
おお、来い。
I took another deep breath before speaking it. So, me, Aoi Minase, I fell in love with Ageha Himegi. So he openly says it out loud so that people can hear it. Ageha seemed flabbergasted.
いや、それは知ってるけど。
Well, no you didn't. I just said like before. Well, it is a little bit embarrassing, but I think Ageha already knows about it, and even if you said differently, it still kind of has the same meaning, so that's nothing new. So like, you know, the word can have different meanings. Like as in an old friend, like a buddy friend, taking a true friend, liking a lover, taking a sibling, liking a parent or a child. So I like you That's all there is to it. I like you more than anyone. I really like you. I see no one but you.
こっちが恥ずかしいんだけど。
Well, I'm not going to let you off the hook so easily. The tale gets even more embarrassing. The best parts are yet to come, so listen up. And once I started talking, I could not stop. And when I kissed you, my heart was beating like crazy. I was so excited. But I knew you had grown accustomed to you, and having you around just felt right. And that's why nothing really changed after we were done. And it would probably even be the same if we got married. So I felt as if I were watching steam shoot out from her ears. And you can see Aoi just openly saying it out loud despite his face being all red. So recently, I have had no idea what you've been up to, so I could not help but worry. And I didn't know, so I got irritated, couldn't calm down, and got angry, but I could not ignore the feelings in my heart, and on the contrary, they only got bigger. And what you were thinking and what you were doing, I wanted to know and understand. I wanted to be closer to you so that I could understand. And because the other was you, I didn't realize it at first, but... So is this love? Is this love or something else? Well, in the past, I mean, back when I confessed my feelings for you, I liked you, but it wasn't the same as how I feel now. So this is the first time in my life that I felt this way. This is my first time to be in love. And you're my first love. Do you have a problem with that? So how does Ageha respond to all that confession? Well, I said it. I said it assertively. Okay, I'm done. I could feel my body temperature rise suddenly. And sweat was dripping off of me with new drops replacing the old ones as fast as they fell. I said it. I really said it. I want to die. So I snatched the air out of my torturous shame and writhed in agony. So what did I do? What did I just pour every ounce of my strength into doing? So, alright, okay, I'm stupid. Stupid. I'm so stupid. And a shame that will last a lifetime. A suicidal shame, embarrassment. I could die. There's no use in arguing that this is enough shame to justify death. Well, this is how Ageha responded to me. Okay, that's enough.
なんてことを聞かせるのかな、このおバカさんは。
So you can say whatever you want. And as if my embarrassment broke out from inside, an odd calmness returned to my heart. Well, I said it. As you requested, I told you a story that is so embarrassing. Well, I'm not sure if that's a story. That I would not be able to go on living if it got around.
聞いちゃった。ひどいってどうするのかな。
Well, I repeat the same thing to you nonstop from morning to night.
拷問だ。
No, that would be bad. Well, if we die, let's do it together.
葵と一緒ならそれもいいかも。
So Ageha's fingers coiled around my own. So gentle grip with an extreme gentle grip. So that moment, something like a white light spread inside my head. And then I get the feeling that several tens of seconds, or even several minutes, may have passed, but I have no way of knowing for sure. And when I came to, Ageha was still sitting next to me, her fingers intertwined with mine. And Ageha had what looked like the same balance of tears in her eyes.
じゃあ行こっか。
So anyways, we've been here for a while, we've talked a lot, and should we be going?
小鳥が疲れ切ってしまわないうちに助けに行こう。
So now Ageha's more comfortable in rejoining the soaring club. Oh. So you stand up and start walking.
葵、
Yes? So speeding up before stopping in front of me, Ageha spoke without turning around.
ありがとう。今度はもうずっと一緒だよね。
Of course.
そう。
And because she continued to walk in front of me, I couldn't see the expression on her face. Okay, so we're back at the runway, and this is a good place to stop this episode. So we got a pretty good explanation from Ageha about what's going on. So she is kind of afraid that if she gets too close to this secret base or soaring club, something will happen. It might get closed down again because they're kind of doing things behind Tobioka-sensei's shoulders. And if he does shut down the club, it kind of feels to Ageha that, oh no, I lost another great thing in my life. So she's already lost two major places in her life. So number one, the old secret base where they as child friends hung out. And number two, the garage that housed the original soaring club. And it's like, well, it's gonna hurt me even more when these places get destroyed because it kind of feels like our whole history has fallen apart, and when things get shut down, people just break up and they move on to their own lives. So hopefully this time this secret base does last and stand up, and it kind of explains why Ageha is trying her best not to let Tobioka-sensei find out and initiate his action to shut down the soaring club. So she is doing something good on her side. It's just that she hasn't been talking about it or revealing it to anyone else in the soaring club. So anyways, with that in mind, I'll see you in the next episode.